Hi, what I have here on the workbench today is an XTAR VX2 Pro battery charger. XTAR sent in this charger for me to review. For those who have been following my channel, you probably have watched my review of an XTAR VX4 charger before. Now you can see that charger here, I'll put it side by side. And also I'll leave a link to that video in the card up there. As usual, I will leave a product link in the video description below in case you are interested in getting one after watching this video. Anyway, the VX2 Pro and the VX4 look very similar. Obviously, the VX2 Pro has only 2 battery slots versus the 4 slots on the VX4. But you do notice the word Pro here on the VX2. So besides offering what the VX4 offers, the VX2 Pro actually has a few more tricks up its sleeves. In case you haven't watched that VX4 video, let me summarize what both of these chargers are capable of charging. Basically, both of these chargers can charge batteries with lithium-ion, lithium iron phosphate, and nickel metal hydride chemistries. They can also be used to charge 1.5 volts lithium-ion batteries. Those 1.5 volts lithium-ion batteries have a built-in DC to DC converter, and I had done a video on how these 1.5 lithium-ion batteries work, so be sure to check that one out if you haven't watched it before. Also, although not mentioned, these chargers should be able to charge nickel-cadmium batteries as well. Typically, you can safely charge nickel-cadmium batteries with a charger designed for nickel metal hydride ones, but not vice versa, as chargers specifically designed for nickel-cadmium batteries can overcharge nickel metal hydride ones. Anyway, most people probably don't have nickel-cadmium batteries lying around anymore, but just in case. Of course, both of these chargers support charging and testing battery capacities. The slots on these chargers are fully independent, meaning that you can mix and match your batteries. Whether they're different sizes or different chemistries, it doesn't really matter. Speaking of battery size, because of this sliding mechanism, as you can see here, these chargers can pretty much accommodate batteries of all sizes, from 10440 to 32650, and from AAA cells to D cells. Now, here are some of the new features that are unique to the VX2 Pro. Let's actually take a look. Although both the VX4 and VX2 Pro support discharging batteries to test battery capacity, the VX4 only supports charging the battery first, discharging it, and then charge it back to full. And it doesn't support discharging only, whereas the VX2 Pro does. So this feature is actually going to be quite useful if you're doing battery capacity testing and you just want to test the battery capacity without having to charge the batteries back up, as it can take quite a bit of time. The VX2 Pro can also refresh nickel metal hydride batteries, which really just runs through charging and discharging cycle multiple times. Sometimes it can help recover some of the battery capacities. So I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to power it up and put a couple batteries in so that we can take a look at some of the features we talked about earlier. And by the way, the recommended USB source is power PD 12 volts. So I happen to have one from XTAR right here, so let me plug it in. And you can see that once you plug it in, we have this display here. Let me actually zoom in so you can see a little bit better. And the backlight actually will turn off after a few seconds. But anyway, let's actually put in a couple batteries. So as soon as you put in the batteries, you can see that we start charging here. And the batteries were actually automatically detected as lithium-ion. Now, the manual did mention that you can also use this charger to charge lithium iron phosphate. To do that, actually, what you need to do is you actually need to press and hold the button here to switch to different chemistry, and then you can actually put in your battery. The reason for that is actually the voltages for these two batteries are fairly close, and it's going to be difficult for the battery charger to automatically detect which one is which, especially in discharged state. Anyway, let's change it back to lithium ion. So let's put it in. And by the way, these two slots are fully independent. You can put different chemistries in either one of them, and it will charge accordingly. So let's take a look at some of the functions I mentioned earlier. To change the charging mode, all you do is to long press the mode while you are in a specific slot. Of course, to change it between the slots, what you need to do is short press the mode button. For example, right now we're back to slot 1 and we're on to slot 2. So to change the mode, you press and hold this. Originally we're in charge, now we're in discharging. And this is the new functionality that I mentioned earlier. In this mode, you're only going to discharge the battery. Once it's discharged, it stops. It no longer charges back up. So this is going to save you a lot of time if you are going to discharge a lot of batteries. And if I press and hold again, now we change to refresh. So this is the mode if you are doing the nickel metal hydride batteries. And I press and hold again. It goes to this grading mode. Essentially, it charges up the battery, discharges completely, and then recharges back the battery again. so that it can measure the capacity. I do want to mention that this grading functionality is great, but it could take a long time to complete. The reason for that is because the discharging current with the grading is only at 300 milliamps. And for a large battery, for example, a 6 amp hour battery, you're talking about a 20-hour discharging cycle. So to charge it up, discharge it, and charge it back up again, it would take multiple days. Anyway, let's take a look at what else. So I press and hold. Now we go to this storage mode. This essentially discharges the battery to a certain percent so that you can safely store the battery. Anyway, pretty neat. So let's come back to see what else we got. You can see that in charging mode, if I short press this button, it actually cycles through the charging current. 2 amps, 1 amp, 0.5 amp, 0.25 amp. So these are the charging current you can select from. Of course, you can also let the battery charger determine it for you automatically. One unique feature is that this battery charger also detects battery internal resistance, which actually can be quite useful. You see here on the display, now we're displaying 68 milliohm. That's actually the battery resistance measured for slot 2, which is the one on the right. Now if I press the mode, it will change to channel 1. And on slot 1, you can see here, this battery actually has a little bit lower internal resistance at 52 milliohms. Now, because of these contacts are not Kelvin sensing, the measured internal resistance might not be that accurate, but I would assume they would be pretty close. So let's actually measure that with a dedicated internal resistance meter. And for this test, I'm going to use my Finersi HRM-10. So let's use that to verify the internal resistance reading. So remember that the first battery, the measured resistance is around 53 milliohms. Let's actually take a look. Of course, these Kelvin clips, obviously we don't have a good way to put them on. I'll try to space them a little bit so that I don't actually just use a single conductor here. So it's going to be a little bit tricky, but I'm going to press, you see here, we have a little bit of spacing. And the measurement is around 62 milliohms. So let's actually remember this. Let's actually take a look at the other battery. And the measure result seems to be at least 10 milliohms higher than what is reported from the XTAR. Because of the measurement accuracy can be influenced by a lot of factors, the measure results here we got is actually in the ballpark, and also the differences you can see, that's actually what is important. The one on the right is 10 milliohms higher than the one on the left. So this one is 75 milliohms measured, and the other one is around 62. Anyway, you can see the measured internal resistance. We do have some variations between these two meters, and that is somewhat to be expected, as, for example, the measurement here is not done precisely, and probably there's some kind of internal calculation to cancel out the lead resistance, and so on and so forth. Anyway, long story short, the absolute value is actually a little bit off, but the differences you measured are pretty much spot on. So yeah, so that is actually a pretty decent charger. Now let's open it up and take a peek inside. All right, I just opened it up. I flipped the board over as there's nothing on this side. Of course, we have some programming headers here. Of course, I had also removed the spring mechanism. Now, you need to be very careful with these springs as they were under tension, and if you're not careful, you could easily launch them somewhere and lose them. Guess how I knew that? And here is a close-up of the main circuit board. You can see that the markings on the microcontroller actually has been erased, and we don't know what microcontroller they're using here. And this unfortunately has become a common practice of a lot of Chinese products. And for whatever reason, they decided to erase the markings on the microcontrollers. So that, I guess, is harder for people to reverse engineer. And down here we have an 8-pin chip that's an LM393, a voltage comparator. And because this charger supports Power PD input, not surprisingly we have a Power PD chip up here that's a HUSB 238. And from the layout here, you can see that indeed we have two fully independent channels. One is on this side, the other is on the other side. Of course, we have this MOSFET to control the charging, and you can see that from this 75 milliohm shunt resistor here, that is to detect the charging current. Of course, we have quite a few other ICs, and I can't see the part numbers, but nevertheless, that's pretty standard for a charger. Overall, the layout and construction is quite clean. And here you can also see the LCD board here. Of course, all the part numbers have been erased, but those would just be your standard LCD drivers. All right, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this video. If you liked the video, please remember to give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Your participation makes videos like this possible. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.